Thank you, G-Defy, for being a sponsor of Newsmax Podcast. G-Defy shoes are the best choice for walking, running, and standing. If you spend a lot of time on your feet, these are the shoes for you. G-Defy's patented Verso Shock technology aligns your posture and perfects your gait. Go to gdefy.com and use the code MAX for $30 off on orders of $130 or more.
Happy Friday and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for June 28th, 2024. Wow, wow, and wow. Not really a happy Friday after last night. The country and the world taking a collective giant gasp during last night's first presidential debate.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
That pretty much sums it up. We have a lot to unpack, obviously, and I purposely said the first presidential debate because could there possibly be a second debate after that?
There is no question this is not the night that the Biden campaign wanted or needed.
I think this is a disaster for Joe Biden.
They wanted to try and quiet some of the criticisms about Joe Biden and show Americans that he is ready to do this for 4 more years. It's hard to say how this is the night that they were hoping for.
Texted me in the middle of the debate, a typical response. He said, I am in a state of shock. He is diminished to an extent that has become undeniable.
Reaction from some reporters and pundits on various news networks, including ABC's Jonathan Karl. This is Newsmax political analyst Mark Halperin on last night's post-debate coverage.
What did you see tonight?
Well, what I saw on the stage is confirmed by what's in my inbox from Democrats from around the country who have big concerns about the performance. And some will say, well, Donald Trump wasn't that good either. It doesn't matter. The calls for him to step off the ticket will be loud, and they'll come from some of the strongest anti-Trump people in the country who feel that Joe Biden's staff and family have let the country down by putting a man so apparently ill-equipped to win a presidential election on that debate stage. If this is the best he can do after a week of nonstop preparation and rest, they believe that his fundraising will crash. They believe his political support will crash. And there's some going so far as to say the loser of the night is Donald Trump, because now they believe it'll be inevitable he'll be replaced. I'll say one more thing. One of the big concerns Democrats have is they're hearing from people who aren't paying close attention to politics, who maybe have seen snippets of President Biden, but haven't really focused on his current state. And their concern is that all over the country, literally tens of millions of Democrats and independents who don't watch Newsmax, who don't follow the RNC website and Twitter account, will be shocked at what their standard bearer is able to do on that stage.
Exactly. To everything that he just said. And that's what I've been saying all along, is the average person doesn't pay nearly as much attention as you and I do. And then last night they tune into the debate and they're like, wow. Mark Halperin on with Rob Schmidt and Mercedes Schlapp, who did a fantastic job last night, working into today, recapping the debate. They spoke with Donald Trump's potential vice presidential pick, Senator J.D. Vance.
Republican Senator from the state of Ohio, J.D. Vance, joining us now. Sir, good to have you on. Your thoughts on what you just saw?
It's a lot, but you'll hear it because it's true. Just an incredible contrast, I think, between the energy, the excitement, the passion of Donald Trump and Joe Biden's meandering answers that showed a complete lack of command of the facts. But one thing that was interesting, Rob, that I really picked up on throughout the debate was Trump showed a certain compassion that was completely lacking from Biden's performance. You hear him talk about, one of these young women who was killed by an illegal alien, calling the young lady's mother. And you could tell that Trump cares about this issue, not just because it's bad or because it's a bad policy outcome, but because it actually affects real Americans. And it's the job of the American president to take care of America's citizens. And then Joe Biden just unable to even acknowledge the fact of the Biden border crisis or of the people affected by it. So, you will hear a lot about Biden's cognitive decline. punchline about the fact that he just seemed to not know anything about the job of being president of the United States. I think what's more interesting in some ways is the complete and utter lack of compassion from Joe Biden and the fact that Donald Trump cares about these issues because they affect real people and he wants to help.
He kept it. I think his demeanor was pretty much spot on. There were a couple moments when he kind of went into the weeds for a second, but I thought Joe Biden looked a lot nastier than Trump. I think if you ended that debate, you would have said that Joe Biden seemed like the nastier guy.
Oh, absolutely. I think Trump was measured and controlled. I think he got fired up in a couple of places, but it was appropriate for him to get fired up. You know, Biden repeating this slander that he called America's troops suckers and losers. I'm a veteran United States Marine. I served in Iraq. All of us who know Trump know that he respects our servicemen and women more than almost anybody else in the country. So the idea that Biden brings up that slander, of course that's going to get Trump fired up, and rightfully so. But I thought largely throughout he was trying to present a factual case to the American people for why Biden's presidency was a disaster and why his own presidency was a success. That is an argument that's very easy to make because the facts back it up. But I think he made it well. And you're right, he did it in a way that I think was approachable and very, very engaging for the average American citizen. Look, I think it was a home run. It was a very, very good night for Donald Trump, a very bad night for Joe Biden. You guys see behind me the spin room where I've had to see, Gavin Newsom and a number of other Democratic politicians defend Joe Biden's debate performance. I've got a much easier job defending Donald Trump's debate performance. But more importantly, it's what this represents. What this represents is a presidency that worked for the American people and a guy who could serve again with effectiveness. That's why we have to reelect Donald Trump.
Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, Trump's potential running mate, from the spin room during Newsmax's post-debate coverage last night. And he mentioned Gavin Newsom, right? The California governor that people once thought could be the guy that would replace Joe Biden. Here's what he had to say.
I know Joe Biden. I know what he's accomplished in the last 3.5 years. I know what he's capable of, and I know his vision, and I have no trepidation.
No trepidation? All right, we know politicians lie, right? But how can any halfway intelligent person say that after watching last night? Speaking of which, here's Vice President Harris.
There was a slow start, but a strong finish. And the bottom line is this. Let us not decide the outcome of who's going to be president of the United States based on a 90-minute debate.
Strong finish. What was she watching? Yeah, maybe when he got mad, crazy old man Joe at the end. Dr. Ben Carson was also in the spin room.
Secretary Carson, tell us your reaction there being in the spin room. What was the sense and what was the feeling in the room?
Well, I think the feeling was one of embarrassment that our weaknesses are demonstrated for the whole world so vividly, and that we've fallen into a situation where we have one political party trying to oppress the other party through legal means. It's very embarrassing.
What did you? I had heard reports that in the room that you were in that you could hear people groaning at certain moments when Biden really was struggling, when he couldn't figure out what he was going to say. Is any of that true? Could you hear that?
There was laughing, there was groaning, particularly at the times when he would just start rambling, and then Dana Bash would cut him off so it wouldn't get worse.
Dr. Ben Carson from the debate spin room on Newsmax. Going back to J.D. Vance, right? He mentioned compassion. Some people were surprised by Donald Trump's sort of low-key demeanor. First of all, everyone was advising Trump, as you may remember, to stay calm, stick to the facts, which speak for themselves. Let Joe Biden just talk and bury himself, right? This morning, fact checkers show that both men lied or told mistruths on several occasions. Joe Biden's head was just obviously filled with all the old standard Democrat mistruths about Charlottesville, Stormy Daniels, the Russian hoax, whatever. The moderators may have helped Joe out a couple of times by quickly switching to Trump while Joe was glitching. I was very surprised. It took 39 minutes for them to ask about January 6th. I think that Trump was being polite to the moderators and they were polite to him. But getting back to the compassion thing, right? I think Trump actually showed some compassion, was compassionate towards Joe Biden when he saw how bad Joe actually was. I think even he was surprised. And he couldn't really go hard on the whole cognitive issue and, all of Joe's gaffes, all the stuff that he may have been thinking about doing, because at this point, it is really just sad, right? It's beyond laughing at him or criticizing him. It's actually sad. He's old. He mentally and physically is declining. It could eventually happen to all of us. And it's sad. It's also sad that his family and Democrats are still pushing him for another term, as Mark Halperin mentioned at the Open, trying to make like what we saw last night didn't really happen. Can you imagine if President Biden didn't have 8 days of rest and preparation leading up to last night? Yesterday, Governor Mike Huckabee said he thinks it was over preparation, which was going to be Joe's downfall. That could have been part of it, but certainly wasn't all of it. And if you didn't hear yesterday's daily, you absolutely have to go back and listen, because former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney talked about what drug he thought Biden would probably be on. And it obviously wasn't the same thing that he was on during the State of the Union. All right, this is from Wake Up America this morning.
The American people saw this live. So a lot of people who perhaps watch CNN, MSNBC have seen him shielded. They've shielded this president for so long. But for the first time, people got to see how he was for 90 minutes. And it was not good. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't think there'll be a second debate. Right. I didn't think there was going to be a first debate. I said on Chris Plant's show a couple of weeks ago, I don't think Biden can actually show up, and I don't think his handlers should make him show up because of his obvious cognitive decline. And the left-wing media, the mainstream media, wants to downplay this. They wanted to downplay this. This is a conservative attack. These are people that just want to attack Joe Biden. There is obviously no cognitive decline. Well, last night we saw that for 90 minutes, and I felt sad and depressed. And this is Joe Biden. I knew this was Joe Biden. We've all seen him. We all know what he's like, but I didn't think that he'd take that debate stage last night and debate so poorly. Within the first few minutes, it was obvious. And President Trump, to his credit, did a wonderful job. He was stoic. He sat there, and he also showed sympathy to Joe Biden. There was a time when he was like, I don't know what Joe Biden just said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he does either. But he delivered that line with compassion, because none of us did. And so I don't think that Joe Biden will be the top of the ticket. You have Nate Silver saying this morning that Kamala Harris needs to step up. Even though she's deeply unpopular, she still will be a better pick than Joe Biden. I don't think that Joe Biden sees this through to November 5th.
Kelly Sadler with the Washington Times on Wake Up America this morning on Newsmax. And that's what I'm saying. Trump eased up on the cognitive attacks, I believe. Now, stay with me on this. Did you see this whole thing now with Michelle Obama suddenly coming out of the woodwork, right? Or the vineyards, upset. They live in Martha's Vineyard. She's upset and frustrated with the Bidens over their treatment of Hunter's ex-wife, Kathleen Buell, who Mrs. Obama and Buell apparently became friends during the Obama-Biden presidency. The former First Lady, according to Axios, saying that this has made her reluctant to campaign for Joe. The way they're treating Hunter's ex-wife made her reluctant to campaign for Joe. Because she knew what was coming last night. And I'm telling you, this is the beginning of Michelle Obama for president. If you've been listening, I've been saying it since last year. Joe won't make it. Let's go back to Wake Up America. Senator Rick Santorum says the Democrats cannot and will not make a change.
I was on set last night, obviously watching the debate and watching social media feeds coming in. And you're right, the left was on fire talking about how they're going to replace Biden. And that continued throughout the course of the debate, continued immediately afterwards. But let me just tell you from listening to that till later in the evening, watching CNN at 1 in the morning. Yes, that's what I do. And then getting up this morning, watching Joe and Mika. all of a sudden you're starting to see a shift. They're on fire, but there's a realization they're stuck with this guy. So they can't go full blown.
You
tell
think
the
so?
truth.
You think they're stuck?
They
you
feel
think there's no
I
chance?
think that everyone, that the Biden folks have put the word out. Joe's going nowhere. So you can go ahead and complain about Joe, but all you're going to do is hurt our chances even more. So Mika was in full protect Joe mode this morning. Now you're starting to see, well, he had a bad night. It was a cold. And what you're seeing is they're going full nuclear on Trump. It's all going to be about how Trump lied, how Trump, was terrible. And you have to understand, the Democrats are stuck right now, and so they're going to start to claw back. But what happened last night is undeniable. The key to this race for both candidates was to make the race about the other candidate. You win an election for president, you win pretty much any election if the issue that you can make the race about is the problems with your opponent. Joe Biden made that an easy thing for Donald Trump to do, not just last night, but going forward. This man is crippled going forward. I don't care how many good performances, if they can get him to have one in the future, he is crippled. And Donald Trump is on his way to the presidency right now, barring something coming up with some problem with him that makes him the focus again.
Former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum on Wake Up America. I also turned on Morning Schmo this morning to see how they were possibly going to spin this. And they were talking about Trump's immunity case, the document case. They had like 14 guests on at one time, doing everything that they could possibly do to talk about everything and anything except Joe Biden. What was surprising is that the president and the first lady actually visited a Waffle House last night after the debate. And they have a busy day of travel today, heading to North Carolina and then New York, I believe Queens, for a campaign event tonight. A campaign event. Who is going to donate to Joe's campaign after last night? I understand you need a tax write-off, but at least give the money to a good cause, right? Seriously. If you are a Democrat, do you feel like donating to Joe after last night? I think that's a very fair question. Donald Trump is hosting a rally in beautiful Chesapeake, Virginia this afternoon. You'll be able to see that, of course, on Newsmax. On Wall Street, the headline was Futures Moving Higher After Last Night's Debate. Does that mean the markets liked the outcome of the debate? I'm not sure, but I'll take all the green on Wall Street that I can get. Today is National Insurance Day, by the way, designed to encourage you to review your policies from time to time, and there is no better time to review your policies than during hurricane season and as you get ready for the summer travel season. So take a few minutes this weekend, make sure your policies are all up to date and all that stuff. It's also going to be a very eventful news day and weekend for sure. Keep up with all the news, beginning with Wake Up America Weekend Edition. That's Saturday and Sunday Agenda, Saturday and Sunday Report, America Right Now, Common Sense with Wendy Bell, the Gorka Reality Check, and more. And make sure you're watching on Newsmax Plus. If you're not, go to newsmaxplus.com, get signed up. It includes all of your favorite shows and hosts, expert analysis, documentaries, special programming, and more. I'm Tony Marino. This is the Newsmax Daily. Thank you for listening. Share it with your friends and family. Enjoy your weekend doing whatever it is you like to do. And keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.